Welcome to another edition of Hollywood Balls with me, Geordie Pete Redding. And what a show we've got for you today. Delighted to welcome my next guest, but deep breaths are needed. Won Olympic gold at Barcelona 92, the only female British athlete to have won Olympic, World, European and Commonwealth titles, a regular on your TV screens, and now helping change the face of corporate health and well-being. Told you I needed a deep breath. She's still got time to join us on Hollywood Balls. Give an awesome welcome to Sally Gunnell, OBE. Hi, Sally.
Hello, good to see you all.
Great to see you. While I catch my breath, can you tell us what you've been up to currently before we have a wander down memory lane?
Gosh, lots really. I've got 3 grown-up boys now, so I've got one in homeschooling in this lockdown, which is always interesting, but he's okay. He's 15 now. And then, just still working, doing a lot. I do a lot around health and well-being. So I've got a couple of new initiatives. We do the corporate side, but also just, I get asked, how do I get fit? How do I lose weight? How, especially with all the mental sort of challenges as well. So just keep reinventing myself, but still love it, and just keep taking each day at a time. That's what I say, and survive.
Well, not reinventing, but more inventing. You started out as a long jumper, right? And heptathlete with the Essex Ladies Club back in the day. I've got to ask you, how did the transition to specialise in hurdles occur?
I guess with the multi-events, which is like the 7 events, the short hurdles was in there. And I was doing okay at the whole heptathlon thing, but I think the short hurdles was sort of my strongest event. And then I won a Commonwealth Games at the 100-metre hurdles. And I just remember my coach, Bruce Longdon, and he just said to me, you're a great athlete, but he said, you're never going to be the best in the world at 100 hurdles. You're not fast enough. And why don't you try the 400 hurdles? And I just remember thinking, why would I want to do that? Because it's, once round the whole track, it's a killer event. And I always remember someone saying that it was like one of the things that you never go and choose the 400 hurdles. The 400 hurdles chooses me. And that's what it was really. And I was like, okay, let's try it. And then it just took off straight away. And that was it. And there was no looking back. He was right.
Yeah, he was. What I've noticed in interviewing sports stars such as yourself, we've had quite a few, at the top of their game. And what I find interesting is that the major key to success seems to be drive. I interviewed John Barnes, and he was talking about the Liverpool football team, saying that basically once they'd won one title, it was moving on to the next. And looking at your history, it's what drove you as well, is it? Is that literally what spurs you on? What's next? What can I do? Even after you've achieved Olympics, is it the world? Is that how you react to it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's one of those things that I don't know. I think it's something you're born with. I think it's a bit of just where you are in your life, what you've gone through, all those sorts of things. But it was always to be the best that I could be. So it was always like, I'd win one thing, or I had disappointments and all those sorts of things, but it was always trying to be the best version that I could be. So I was always like, what's next? What can I do? And I always used to astound myself of, what little old me could do. But I think that helped with the drive. But I did, and I had a lot of drive. And I look at what I used to do as a 14, 15-year-old, and I was thinking, God, I don't see my boys traveling off to training, an hour away, and the dedication and all those sorts of things. But I had that from a young age. And I think it was just that, how good could I just personally be myself, really? That's what kept that drive going.
Absolutely fantastic. I mentioned football there. I've got to bring it up. You're a Hammer, aren't you? West Ham fan.
I grew up over in Chigwell in Essex, so I was that side of London, and then I met my husband when I was 18. He was from Brighton, but he supported West Ham. So for a number of years, before we sort of moved down here, we used to go over to West Ham and watch and stuff like that. So we still are, but we've got a really mixed sort of family going on. There's a couple of Liverpool boys in my family. There's obviously Brighton as well, that now we're down here, we do go and see and support. So there's a real mixture all around. But no, in my true growing up was my brother was Orient and I was West Ham. So there you go.
West Ham going very well at the moment as well, thanks to David Moyes. So long may it continue. Yes. Hopefully you're bringing them good luck. Now, I've got to say, our signature here at Hollywood Balls is sharing with our fans the epic sporting moments. My whole idea about this show was, not to be able to, you go on the major channels afterwards and you talk about your times and your positions and your finishing, but we like to get to, to what was going on. So take us to set the scene for us in Barca 92, 400 meter hurdles final. Can you recall and share with us what was running through your mind when you're on the start line?
Yeah, I just, one is I knew if I didn't do it now, I'd never have this chance again. I knew I was in the best shape of my life. I knew I'd mentally prepared myself. I'd done all the visualization, I'd done everything that the sports psychologist, I was just in the best shape of my life. And it was only a case of me personally not believing in my own ability and mucking it up, or just get out there and give yourself some credit and have a go. And that's what I just kept telling myself. Do you know what? You deserve this. You've done everything right. And, just give yourself an honest go. And if it's the best, do the best that you can. And if it's the right one, and if it's good enough, then you might win. And that's what I did. And it was just about keeping yourself positive, because you can imagine the tension in that last bit. And I always say, you always have that voice in your head, don't you? The one that says, are you good enough? Can you really do this? What happens if, I don't know, I hit a hurdle or whatever? And you can't go there. You can't let those thoughts go into your head. So you have to just keep pumping those positive thoughts and just saying, come on, you deserve this. And this is yours. And yeah, and I felt really confident. I knew it could have gone either way. And I threw it out the window, which I'd done, the year before when I'd mucked up in the world. But I just knew I had to just keep going, and I just kept forcing those positive thoughts in. And then you just go into this, I don't really remember any of the race, which is the weirdest thing ever, because the gun goes and now a lot of my vision is because I've watched the race afterwards, but you just go into autopilot, and it only ever happened twice in my whole career, in that Olympic Games and in the Worlds when I broke the world record. And it's because of the expectation, it's because of the pressure, it's because of the mental strength that you've put in place. And you just go into this zone that they call it. And it's just the most amazing place to get in, but one of just, smoothness and just, just beautiful.
I like that, pumping positive thoughts. So you pump in positive thoughts as well as pumping your arms and legs. Fantastic. Out of the many accolades, and there's quite a few, you heard me out of breath in my introduction for you. Is there a one that you take most personal pride or satisfaction in?
I think, the Olympics is the ultimate. That's the one you dream about since you were, I was 14 years old. But I think the Worlds the following year wasn't such a smooth path. I was ill sort of a couple of weeks beforehand. I got a cold, and I was a lot of negative thoughts flying around, even though I was in the best shape I'd ever got myself in. Then I got ill, and it wasn't a ticking of the boxes which I had in the Olympics. But I managed to go out and talk myself into the race and keep myself positive and fight all sorts of that inner voice again. And I think when I won and broke the world record, I just felt very different to the Olympics. It was complete relief. It was complete shock that I'd actually broken a world record and had won, considering the fighting of that voice that I'd had in that last 48 hours. And just like, wow, I learned a lot about myself. It was a bit of a moving on point in your life almost, and what we're all capable of doing, I guess.
Fantastic. Now, as we said before, you mentioned at the top of the interview, we're used to seeing you on TV screens commentating Question of Sport, which we all love. But I'm going to take you to 2006 and touch on a friendship with a guy called Ralph. Can you tell us a bit about Only Fools on Horses?
Wow, that was quite an experience. So Ralph was a horse who was, I don't know, enormous. When they talk about how many hands were there, he was just, I think it was 6'1" or something like that. It was just enormous. And we had to do this show. It was show jumping, and we'd had 2 weeks to learn how to show jump, let alone ride. I think I'd got on a pony when I was little. And then we had to go around this arena, which was full of lights and crowds, and these horses were spooking all over the place. But it was amazing, and we had to all live together with cameras overnight, and it was quite an experience. I think I lasted about, I don't know, it was one night after another or something like that. So I think I lasted about 4 nights before he sort of bucked me off and knocked a few jumps down, and we got kicked off. But it was an amazing experience just to learn something new like that and be scared. You know, I was petrified at times. And in fact, I've never been back on a horse since. So there you go.
Good old Ralph. Now, given your career, it's no surprise that you've taken to driving health and wellbeing throughout UK. It's quite a task, though, isn't it, given the lockdown scenarios that are played out globally now? Give us some background on how you can drive that currently.
Yeah, I think it's realising how much how looking after ourselves can affect our everyday, moods, our mental health, and things like that. And I think it was all the things I learned from my running. Sometimes it is about all those small little things that you put in place. And it might be what you have for breakfast. It might be that walk you put in, you've gone for up at lunchtime and you've got out of your desk for 20 minutes, or a few squats while you put the kettle on, or whatever it is. All those small little things, when I was running, they all added up to, achieving and being the best version that I could when I ran. And it's exactly the same now. I know I'm a better mum if I've done some exercise in the day, or I've got some fresh air because I'll shout less at the kids. And I know that, through lockdown, what I've eaten and, how much I've drunk and, the exercise I've done has all affected my anxiety and my mental health, and just, being kind to ourselves almost. And I think that's the message that I've got across. It's, sometimes we don't look at how we can actually, what we can put in place, and how small and insignificant those things can be, but how much of a big part they can play in our lives, really. And it's just a powerful thing, and it's just being able to share that with people.
It's amazing as well, Sally, you've got to touch on it, how the way that people have, and the power of not just people in the UK, but people globally have adapted to this scenario. People can adapt, can't they? And there's a lot of people, positivity, that they take the positives out of this situation. Yeah,
and I think that's something that, sport has helped me with in that. And I think it's something that, it's helped me in lockdown, and I think it's helped a lot of people, is that it is about trying to find a positive. And you know what? It is hard out there, and especially now when we haven't got particularly nice weather. It was very different to lockdown 1, and it's harder. It's really hard. But I think the thing I've learned is that I think, how the communities have kicked off around, how friends have helped, how that village life where we are is really, been so important, and having friends to go for a walk with and chat to have just been so key. And that whole thing around being kind to yourself, being kind to others, and gratitude, all those things that are really being sparked in these lockdowns. And I think they're things that people have now worked out and are now applying, and will apply it as we come out of it, and we will come out of it. But I think the thing that's helped me is to do some form of exercise. It doesn't have to be massive, it can just be 10 minutes. But I think also just taking each day at a time. I found it really hard. I've always been someone who's always driven by goals and what to do. And yes, I can see a little bit of a light at the end of this tunnel. And I think especially with the vaccine, and we can start hanging on to that. But I'm still taking each day at a time. And I think, and have things to do. I think that's really helped and kept myself as busy as I can, really. And I think that's how we've sort of got through it as a family here.
Great stuff. Now, finally, you just mentioned off air about Dubai, and I wanted to touch on a bit of both motivation mostly, but and Dubai, given that's where we are in our wonderful city. Given your knowledge of keynote speaking and motivating people, we've got a series over here called the Sketchers Dubai series, and it's a series of 6 runs, safe runs as well. They've done a lot of work making sure it's safe for all our Dubai runners. All ages entered, and just last week our runner-up ran with a help buddy who was blind, and it's just such an avid sporting city. So have you got a message for the runners of Dubai during lockdown of how they can keep going?
Yeah, I think it is about keeping going. And I always think, still set yourself little challenges with your running, whether it is to run a little bit faster, or whether it is to run a bit further, or to do an extra day. I think the other thing with running, what I found, is to try and mix it up a bit. So not always doing the same run, all the time. I'd like to go and train at different places, different surfaces. And I do a little bit of hill training. I do a little bit fast and slow, which we call sort of like tempo or fartlek. And it might be that, I don't know, you do a minute a little bit harder and then you jog a little bit slower and then you do another minute. And that really improves you and moves on. But I think it's about keep going. So my husband's just come back from Dubai. They've got the elite athletes out there, which has been amazing at the track out there. And they've just said it's been a lifesaver because it's been so hard over here, being able to try to train, but for Tokyo. But they've been able to do it out there. I think they might even be coming back again in sort of April time, hopefully. And I did think, right, if we're out of lockdown here, I might sneak back for a week with him. So I've been a few times and love it. So yeah, just keep active and enjoy your running. Don't, some days I must admit I drag myself out and I think, why am I doing this? I don't really enjoy it. But once I get out there, once I've finished, and I think this is the reason why I do it. And it's that feeling it gives you just mentally and physically as well. And I think we need to hang on to that.
Fantastic. Well, if your husband is coming back out with the team and everybody else, we at Hollywood Balls certainly hope that you can join him. We'd love to hook up. Ladies and gentlemen of Hollywood Balls, it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to speak to the one and only Sally Gunnell, OBE. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, everybody.